The First Order reigns.
They blew up the New Republic. We had the trick shot 5 laser Starkiller base thing. So I guess technically they won on that level. I mean, they blew up a bunch of politicians.
The Hosnian Prime system.
Yeah. So they blew all that up, and that was, I guess, the seat of the New Republic. I mean, if this is like Rogue One and Episode 4, these two movies touch, it's kind of hard to conceptualize their reign. They kind of just burst onto the scene a little bit in the first movie, and now they are in charge of the galaxy, apparently. Good on you, Hux. If the primary tool for the subjugation of the galaxy under the reign of the First Order is Starkiller Base, fear will keep the local systems in line and this battle station, et cetera, et cetera. If the primary tool for enforcement has been blown up, and now all you have is a fleet, you would think that while it would be a struggle, victory over the First Order is not out of the question. Hope has not been completely eradicated at this point. But like you say, there's never any real explanation or dialogue regarding it. I think probably the most accurate description of what's going on in the universe comes from DJ in this film, where he's basically like, sometimes they blow you up and sometimes you blow them up, man. Hey. It's all just a bunch of nihilistic garbage. And Rian Johnson's known for that. So congratulations. It's silly. It's really kind of, it's a silly premise to base your story on.
One of the shortcomings of The Force Awakens is not understanding the threat or scope of the First Order. Where did they come from? We were never treated to a Death Star conference room scene in any of these films. Give me 3 minutes of dialogue that serves to inform the audience, and I would have been thrilled.
We've destroyed the Empire. We have a new Republic elected. They've decided that peace, we're going to give peace a chance, so we're not going to do the Empire thing. They don't go out and wage wars. They don't go out and enforce anything. They're not a force projection, right? They're just a symbol, and they come across the First Order and they're like, oh, crappity crap. But even then, you can make them bigger or better than the small ceremonial force or the small, micro army that the New Republic has. But the visuals and the way that it's presented in these films it's just the Empire, right? And the Empire is back without it being the Empire. And none of it makes any sense. It doesn't fit any sort of logical structure that, they would have all of these massive ships, lots of jackboots and funny hats, and be an insurgency, right? Because that's what the First Order is. It's an insurgency against the Republic. So we've got two terror groups, I guess. You got the Resistance and the First Order fighting each other. The New Republic's like, we don't like war, but they're signing checks to Princess Leia. But, there's a lot of talk about that sequence with the bombers and all that stuff. And apparently Rian Johnson was channeling his inner Lucas, and he was watching a lot of footage of World War II stuff. I don't know, maybe he watched Das Boot too many times, and he's just like, yeah, we're going to do a thing. And then now,
lots of black satin, which is very confusing.
Yes, there's some shiny. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, it's just the whole movie is confusing. And it starts with the Huck situation and the jokes, and then it just goes into Poe Dameron. He's the hero, right? And he's the guy, and but he has to be put in his place now because he was too heroed, and his heroing was too much heroism. Sit
toxic
in the corner.
Masculinity.
Yeah, toxic masculinity. Sit down, flyboy. Put it back in your pants, kind of thing. You're like, oh, come on, really? Well, and I mean that's the way that Haldo talks to him, and all that is very confusing too. And we'll get to that, but his confidence is broken by Leia and Haldo. Then he's built up again at the end. Like, you're going to be the leader. Don't look at me. Follow him. Okay, so 10 minutes ago, you were just telling this guy that he was not fit for command, that he had no skills beyond exploding things and flying fast. He's like all the other flyboy jocks around here. We don't need those types, And then suddenly it's like, you're the leader of the resistance, Poe. What? So you brought me down here on this planet where there's no hope of escape or anything, and then you hand over the keys to me? That way, you're setting me up for failure? Like, what's going on, man? They have miniaturized Death Star tech out there. We got an old lady who can't walk. He's the Bob Chapek of the Resistance.
You're not wrong.
Weirdness, right? Finn his character arc flattens, and he just becomes this prop that runs around shouting Rey's name all the time. To be honest, everything in this movie, except for Rey and maybe Princess Leia, everything is trashed in this movie. Every single character who came before, every single idea, it's all been just trashed. I'm going to subvert your expectations.
Well, okay, so Poe shows up, a few jokes, rocket-powered X-Wing destroys every surface cannon on a ship that is 1 mile in length. And this, from Captain Kennedy, is explained as a failing on Hux's part. So once again, the incompetent Hux. Perhaps if you created fighters with hyperdrives, but that's a story for another day. The TIE fighters arrive too late to stop Poe. They arrive in plenty of time to stop the resistance bombers. And here again, Rian Johnson watching a lot of World War II films in preparation. He wanted the sub scene, and apparently he wanted the desperate bomber scene. There's been a lot of talk about these bombers and bombs falling in space or not falling in space and how that would work. But they're made of paper mache. I'm not sure exactly what this scene contributes to the film. A competent battle around the dreadnought would have accomplished the same task. I don't know. We've destroyed Hux as a credible villain, and now in some sense we're destroying the credibility of the Resistance. What happened in the space of a day?
Where's the rest of their squadrons?
Yeah, why would you maintain these ships? They're not worth the fuel you would put in them.
Again, some exposition might have been nice, right? Instead of Princess Leia, instead of having her spitting her lines through clenched teeth, something about the battle or whatever, maybe we go back a little bit and we have a prep meeting. Maybe we don't start this movie immediately after the last one. And maybe we have a scene where they're talking about, evacuating the planet. I don't know. Maybe the X-Wings have gone on to scout the next location for the Resistance or something. They know, or they find out that the First Order is coming, so they're trying to throw up what they have, and they're like, well, these bombers weren't built for this. Like, just tell me that, right? Say something along the lines of, it's like, because when they arrive at Crate, they're like, well, I got these old skimmers things that are crap and they're falling apart. And you're like, okay, well, now you've set that expectation for me, so I can see why they're garbage picked over surplus weapons. So tell me about the bombers, right? Say, well, these were actually designed for atmospheric bombing, right? They're not designed for space bombing, and like all that stuff.
Galactic Initiative is not authorized or endorsed by Lucasfilm Limited. The name Star Wars and all related materials are registered trademarks of Lucasfilm Limited, a subsidiary of the Walt Disney Company, by rights reserved. Galactic Initiative is a registered trademark, and other product and company names are trademarks of their respective holders. Use does not imply affiliation or endorsement.